statement that we are capable of managing our own affairs? Is that just a mere statement? Or is a statement that we as Ghanaians, our leaders, were supposed to work towards that to make sure that Ghana becomes an independent nation, that we don't depend anymore on the foreign influence. We don't depend anymore on the help and the assistance of the Westerners, because we as Ghanaians, we are capable, and Africa in general, we are capable of managing our own affairs. But what happened? What went wrong? Why until now, after all these years, Ghana still depends on the IMF? We still depend on the US aid. After all these years, Ghana still cannot manage its own economic situations, that we have to go back to the IMF every now and then. For 17 times we've gone to the IMF. For 59 years that we keep going back and forth with the IMF, going for loans. Some of the loans we cannot pay them. But what happens with all these loans? What happens with the money that the IMF, the World Bank, gives to our country, to the leaders? What happens? What do they do with this money? Until when are we going to say, no more, IMF, we don't need you anymore? We can manage our own affairs, as Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, that we can handle our own financial challenges, that our own resources that we have in our country, we can use our resources to take care of our own problems, to solve our energy crisis. We can use our own resources that we have in our country to manage the life of the youth, to develop, to industrialize our nation. That all the time we have to look out for help and support from the external world, from the IMF, from the World Bank, and from the US aid.
United States Agency for International Development, because they have suspended their supply of essential health commodities in Ghana, with the regions up north being the most affected. Now, the decision follows an executive order by the US President Donald Trump enforcing a global freeze on US foreign aid.
Ghana, we cannot use our resources. Gold, baby, buy you two on my Ghana mono. Yen to mean fast size can be and solve maternal death and child death in our country. Sikani ba a baby dream penny for the same way. Then I'm this can ye. No be items can now their question and pass. No be they mismanage these funds. They mismanage these resources. It is what is going on. This US aid has been cancelled. No more of this US aid to Ghanaians, majority most African countries. I say that we don't even need those US aids. The time of babysitting is over for Ghana. No nation is going to babysit Ghana anymore. The time for pampering us, the time for dashing out money to our country, pumping money into our country, and these leaders squandering the money, using the money for their own gains, for their own businesses. Those times are over. The times when the IMF comes and pumps money into our nation for educational purposes, for financial support for small businesses, and our leaders uses the money for their own gains, for their own profit. Those days are over. Sisi US aid na sikanka yediba ebabe bua nkora, the death of children and pregnant women, maternal death. Sikanka yedibe solve that problem no. You say enough is enough. You cancel that. So now that money is no more coming. And what is the response for that? President Mahama directs Finance Minister to urgently bridge US aid gap. That is a press release that we are just receiving. What is going on? The US aid funds, Sika Nanka US aid, the supporter of mine Ghana, the supporter of my mind, I hold water. Sa fund no sa Sika no, ka ye kukuru de ma mine Ghana no. Ye trim. Sa Sika na baby. President Mahama I release a press release that the minister should do whatever he has to do to bridge that gap. President John Dramani Mahama has directed the Minister of Finance, Honorable Atuforsen, to take urgent steps to bridge the funding gap arising out of the suspension of the USAID International Funding Program. The President expressed deep concern over the funding gap estimated at $156 million. Of particular concern to the President is the impact of the project's $87.2 million shortfall that will adversely impact such critical intervention as malaria prevention, maternal and child health, family planning, reproductive health, nutrition, and the fight against HIV/AIDS, under which the availability of antiretroviral drugs, testing and prevention programs are threatened. The president has requested that the bridging arrangement focuses on these priority areas to mitigate any deleterious effects occasioned by the US aid funding disruption. So what is the president saying? That the finance minister has to do whatever in his power to find a way to bridge the gap because US aid has been taken off. How and where are we going to get the money to pay for all these anti-malarial drugs, to pay for the HIV/AIDS antiretroviral drugs, the testing, family planning? Where is the country going to get the money from to buy all these drugs, to pay off workers, and to solve this problem that we are facing in our country? So the president says that this is a threat to our nation and that we have to find solution, urgent solution to this problem. But the leaders could have thought about this before even the fund was taken. Now we are thinking about how to go to I.M.F to get more loans upon loans. I hope that our leaders are learning, and I believe that our leaders will learn from this and will rise up and change the destiny of our nation and avoid the corruption that is killing and destroying Africa, and resolve this problem so that Africa can be independent, that we won't have to request money from the Westerners to be able to manage our own energy crisis. I pray that our leaders will begin to think differently so that all these problems, the suffering that the young people, our continent is going through will come to an end. Thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, please go ahead and click the subscription button. That means a lot to us. And if you have any comment, any suggestion, please leave it on the comment section and we will respond to that. Thank you very much. Peace out. Take care of yourself. Let's resolve these problems that is going on in our country. Thank you very much. God bless you. God bless Ghana.